Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session on research internships presented by BITS Goa Women in Tech. We are a community of BITS Goa's women in technology where we collaborate, discuss ideas, and share opportunities. We comprise essentially of women who are a part of our college, all juniors, seniors, and even alumni, and we're led by a team of four. We aim to provide guidance for networking, discovering the right opportunities, and finding a safe space for conversation and mentorship. Our mission is to nurture a platform where all women can encourage and learn from each other. We're really excited to present today's session on research internships. If you're planning to or even thinking about pursuing research and would like to gain experience by learning and working at institutes with professors, this talk will help give you clarity regarding the application process, the timeline, the requirements, and you can even get some perspective on the different fields of study and how to choose your field and other general tips about research internships. The two speakers we have here today have done countless research internships and are sure to inspire you with their stories. And we're really excited to hear about their journeys. Our first speaker is Meera Ramprasad, a final year student at BITS Goa. She's pursuing her dual degree in math and ECE and has previously done research at USC and IIIT Hyderabad. She's currently interning at Infineon Technologies. Our next speaker this evening is Chainika Shah. She's also in her final year. She's a dualite doing physics and ECE and has been a research intern at Silence Laboratories, Singapore, and has also been a summer intern at Western Digital. She will be completing her PS2 as an intern at Nvidia. Thank you so much, Meera and Chainika, for joining us today. We're really excited to hear you speak. Over to you.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, so I think one of the first questions when we think about research internships is why, or why when we think about research itself, is why we should engage in something like this. So, as an undergraduate student, you might be in any discipline of engineering or science at BITS, but you develop your access to different kinds of fields, different kinds of thrusts that are being pushed forth in different technological avenues. And undergraduate research is a really nice way to, dip your toe in the water and see if that's something you'd like to do. So a lot of us may already have a very strong liking to something that we do in college, or some of us might be completely clueless. And this is a good chance for you to explore what options lie ahead of you. So exposure to undergraduate research is one very important reason as to why you would like to do something like this. Because I think even when you enter into a sort of research partnership with a professor or a lab or someone out there, they understand your level, they understand that you're here to learn, and they provide you with those kind of opportunities, especially when you're starting out so young. So you might not get a chance to be like fresh sand and engage in very driving fields of research and something that's actually pushing forward a lot of technological innovations at such a young stage. The second thing is when you pursue undergraduate research, you get an opportunity to network and interact with people from different backgrounds. It can be a professor at a university, it can be a research scientist at a lab in a multinational company, it can be with a postdoctoral scholar, it can be with a graduate student, a fellow undergrad. So when you meet and interact with people who have such varied experiences, you're bound to learn something from their experience, and you're also bound to learn something about how you can improve on your skill set based on how they handle a problem. Like each one of us approach a problem in a different fashion, right? Like some of us just want to go head on, some of us want to study everything, analyze every aspect, and then jump into it. So we understand different people's work ethics, we understand how they think, how they assimilate, and I think these are very important things to be learning at such a young age.
Yeah, that definitely does make a lot of sense. And she put it in a very good way. And to add on to that, what Meera was trying to say was if you have a clear idea of what you're interested in, then that's one way to go to explore undergraduate research in that. And another way to look at it is if you want to sort of work in diverse fields, and that's basically how I took it. So in my profile, I knew I was interested in electronics, but I was trying out different fields within electronics to see what sort of excites me and what interests me. So my even if my summer internship was in digital and I knew I wanted to go in core electronics, I picked up my thesis or my research internship in communications because I found that interesting as well. So that way you get hands-on lab experience in a particular field, which definitely is going to give you more insight in trying to understand if you're interested in that field or no. So that is one way to go about it. You can go into research and try to do different sort of internships in different fields because that'll definitely help you figure out what you want to pursue in the future. Adding to that, if you have considered getting a master's or getting a PhD in the future, if you're not concrete about it yet, but you think you want to do that, then this is definitely going to add to your profile. You'll have a lot of things to talk about. If you do end up publishing a paper based on this, that is also going to add to that and will definitely build your CV in a much more better way. So that those are a few reasons why you can consider doing research. And as she said, the work profile or the work ethic is very different when it comes to research from corporate work. And only being a part of this and working in this is going to help you understand if this is your way to go. So and right now is the best time to take out different opportunities and see what's best for you. So these are a few reasons why you can consider taking up research in your undergraduate degree. Moving on to the next slide. Yeah. So for you to also build up on this, you can start from your college level itself in classes itself. So what we did was we had research papers we read as a part of our coursework as well as projects we took up under professors, which in itself sort of gave us a direction in what we were interested in. Like we both sort of knew we wanted digital and analog respectively. I hope I'm going in the right direction, Meera. But we knew we wanted to go into this because in our courses itself, we were asked to read a few papers that we did read and also took up projects under professors. So that's one way to go about it to figure out what you really like. Go to those professors, talk to them about clear your doubts, whether it's about coursework or about your own future related aspects. You can talk to them. They have a lot more idea. All you need to do is walk into their chambers. And I know it's online right now and it's a lot harder, but take that step because that's definitely going to help you and clear your doubts. Meena, if you want to add anything on this.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you say. I think it might be very difficult for especially the people who are here in the 2020 and 21 batches because almost all of your college experience has been completely virtual and you won't know which professor might be welcoming of your ideas or how to put your inhibitions down and go and talk to them about something you like. But I can safely vouch and say that every professor is looking to interact with you. Their ultimate goal of conducting or teaching the course is for you to be able to assimilate as much as you can, and if they can do something on their part to help you understand or to plant that seed of interest in what you like to do, they're definitely going to do that. And in addition to projects, coursework and papers, there are also a lot of blogs and websites on the internet. Like I know MIT has one dedicated to different research fields. I can't remember the exact name, but even if something, some really big umbrella topic sort of interests you, like if I say something like, oh, I'm interested in neuroscience, it's a very vast topic, right? There are several verticals and subverticals. So you can just start by just for the sake of your curiosity, you can start off by just subscribing to one of those newsletters. You may not understand what's really written in that like really large scientific article, but one way for you to keep yourself abreast with the developments in those fields is by subscribing to a newsletter or something like that. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do we go about with the whole the research internship aspect? Now let's just get to what the point really is. Next slide, please. So there are two ways by which you can go about with getting a research internship. One is through an intern program, and two is by physically emailing your professors or a lab that you really like and inquiring whether they have a vacancy available. So let's just talk about intern programs for a second. Some of the names that you can see on your screen are the ones that are widely known. These are run by different organizations across the globe that that aim to start some sort of a scientific dialogue between two parties. And each of these programs have a very specific application procedure. Like some of them would require you to write application essays. Some of them would require you to submit letters of recommendation and all of those things. I hadn't applied through any of these programs. Chainika, did you?
So I did apply for one of these. So as she said, there are a lot of very different requirements for these and formalities. So we'd suggest you go through them and check out the deadlines and see what's required out of them, because they're very different. Some of them have projects already listed, and you need to pick out your project of interest and tell them why you would be helpful. So that requires actually writing down an essay and submitting it. So do that, go through all of these and see if these help you, because if these do, then it's a sure shot into getting a research internship that's already organized so for you. So that's one way to go about it. Yeah. So,
and these programs have specific requirements, like they might require you to be the top 3 in your branch. They might require you to have a certain kind of CGPA. So you need to be mindful of all of these factors before you actually go and apply. Next slide, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was another of trying to get a research internship. The more traditional way that the two of us actually went through was sending out emails to the professors of interest and to different labs that we were interested in. And these emails need to be personal and concise. My email, for example, was 3 paragraphs long, and it was actually a very short, concise email, but you need to sort of explain why exactly this particular internship under this particular professor is going to help you. Sort of do some research about where you heard about them, a few papers or a few seminars that they conducted that sort of inspired you, and what you really like and how you can add on to their team. Because making a personal email will definitely show that you're interested and you have put in the time and effort to actually go through their page, to go through their work they've done. So that's definitely going to be a plus. That is one way. And another way is to go on LinkedIn and Twitter. And Meera knows more about that. So, Meera.
I haven't physically done this to land any of my research internships either, but I know people who have, and I have a fair idea of how these things work. So people, labs, postdocs, PhDs, scientists, all of them are very active on LinkedIn. And to my surprise, they were active on Twitter also. So a lot of people connect with or follow these people of interest on these social media profiles. And they don't just follow their lab page or the professor or the head of the department there. They also follow their postdoctoral candidates, their PhD students, graduate students, and everything. They get by interacting with these people, you get an idea as to who's doing what, how are they doing it there. And sometimes they post lab openings also on these web pages. So if you're following someone, if they post something, that would be a direct way by which you can get in touch with them. But you can also try contacting the postdoc or the PhD and ask them, is there an opening in the lab? What are the requirements to get in, and all of those things. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a broad set of procedures that you have to follow to land a research internship. This is basically a way by which you can organize yourself so that you know what you have to do next. So the first thing, as Chainika and I had recommended earlier, was to read papers, articles, scientific websites, and get to know who's doing what and get to know what you like. So if your interest is in, say, analog design, follow professors. When you're doing your projects with professors on campus, try reading some papers to enhance your skill set and enhance your knowledge in the subject. When you do something like this, you know who else is doing something similar as to what you're currently doing, and it gives you an opportunity to it gives you some sort of it gives you a key to connect with them. You know that you've read someone's paper, and since that interests you, you can sort of leverage it and put that as your connection with that professor. So research is very important. So the way you go about with research is you read their papers, you can check out articles they've written, you can read their textbooks, all of those things. And each professor has a specific website dedicated to them. Like even if you go and you look at BITS Goa's website, you know that each professor in every department has a website dedicated to them that lists their research interests, that lists their publications and things like that. So when you go through their website and see what they're doing, you'll have a fair idea of what they're doing and whether it aligns with what you'd like to do. In addition to that, you can get on Google Scholar as well. Google Scholar is like the golden bird for all things research. Basically, it consolidates every paper that the person has written and listed on Google Scholar in a chronological order. So you can see what their latest research is. You can see their research trajectory. Like, okay, so if they've done one thing first and that next, you can see how they've cultivated their own research and things like that. Now, once you have a list of professors ready with you, you start making an Excel sheet by having their name, which university or lab they belong to, and their email address, because if that's the primary way you're going to be contacting them. So binning a list is very important. And the crux here is when you're applying, as an undergrad, don't be extremely picky. Like have a good 30, 40 people long list and, read through their work and all of those things. There's no, unless you're extremely lucky, it's not going to be like you're mailing one person and then they revert to you with a yes. It's an iterative process. It's going to take some time. So you will have to put in that effort.
Yeah. So rightly said, like how she exactly explained, I also made a list. I had a sheet about I had around 25 to 30 professors that I was interested and that I knew I wanted to contact them and try to get an internship there. And so you jot down wherever you found them, what they are interested in, what is the recent work they've done. And based on those things, start drafting an email. Do this beforehand itself, because towards the end, like right now is the time you should be sending out emails. And if you're not, don't freak out. It's never too late. You can start right now. And you should know that it should not be a cold email, because I know people who sent out mails to like 100 different professors and don't get a single response because they've sent out the same email, the same word, the body that they're sending. So that's not a good idea. Spend some time, because this is the part where you're going to talk about yourself. You also need to add your CV, and don't add it as a PDF and put it on your drive and add the link, because that definitely makes a difference. These are such small things that will help you go a long way. Keep it formal, keep it short, keep like the first paragraph about yourself and the things that interest you along with your CV attached. The middle part needs to be about the work of theirs that interested you and what exactly you would want to work on and how you'll add on to the team and how they will also be of help for you for your future. Keep that as your main crux. And after that, just like a small paragraph about how this is a thesis and you want to discuss further and you would love to have their response. That's a general body of how I did it. And Meera, if it's something different, then you can add on.
No, it was more or less the same only. I think one thing that we might not think is very important, but professors are really looking for, is how far-sighted you are. They want to know that you're not doing this just to fill some credit requirement or just to get some clout or something like that. They're looking to see how, if you do this one research internship with them, how does that impact your life? How does that take you further? How does that align with your goals? That's a very important thing. We don't have the answer to. Can we go back to the previous slide, please? Yeah, we don't as undergrads, we don't really have a concrete answer to what do you want to do at a later point in time. But even if you have a vague idea, it's important that you sort of weave your why you want to do research and that vague idea together and make that your sales pitch, for lack of better terms. So if you're someone who is very serious on doing their masters somewhere, you can tell them that this would give you you can tell them that this research internship would give you an insight into your field, and it'll take you a step further to achieving that goal of your masters, and after your masters your career in that line as well. So when you say something like that, they know that you're not just extracting stuff on them, you're willing to commit, you're willing to put that thing because it aligns with your goals eventually. Chainika, would you like to add something?
Yeah, that's perfect. And also, so based on that, you also need to actually go through everything they said, and they will eventually, they'll only come and help you, give you a lot more options. If you're open to them, they themselves will guide you, and they'll have so much more to say that'll help you with your goals. So you just need to be open, and you need to show that you're genuinely interested and you want to learn. If it comes off as though you're trying to fill in your 16 credit requirement, then nobody's going to respond, because they definitely want people that are interested and will put in their hours. Because thesis also is something that you need to work on by yourself. There is no deadline, there's no one coming behind you taking your updates and asking for how much work is done. You need to do everything by yourself, so you need to be prepared for all of that, and you need to show in that effort, and uh, that you're just active and you're interested in doing this. So once you sort of try to put all of that on your mail, you send it out to your person of interest, your professor, and sort of time it properly. That's how I did it. If I was sending it to professors outside India, suppose I'm sending it to someone in the US, I'll send it in the evening because I know it's the morning time for them. Like, try to make sure because they're getting a lot of emails. So, and even if you don't get responses right away, don't be disheartened, because it does take time. Just have faith and just hope that you will get responses. That's why I considered around 25 to 30 professors, and I think I got responses from about 4 or 5. And they also give you a reject going like they're busy with so and so stuff and they won't be able to help. Those also come in, but you will get a handful of responses. And just make sure that you send it in a time where you think that they're going to see it. I usually try to send it in the morning because I hope that people would check their mails in the morning. And also with that, follow up with your emails regularly. So if you did not get a response within a week, try to send them a reminder after that, and then so on and so forth. Don't spam, and just make sure you're still being formal, because also you're going to be representing BITS while you're talking to all of these professors from such renowned universities and labs. So just make sure you're still, formal with them, and sort of just hope for the best that everything will work out. And yeah, move on to the next slide. Yeah, so these are a few of the good practices that you should be following when it comes to these applications. And I'll just go through a few of them. One is what we've been talking about for a while now, the two of us, and that's try to be active and read regularly, and try to know what's happening in your field of interest. What are the recent developments? What is going on? And because that will definitely help with your second or third talk with the professor as well. If you do get a few calls in the end and you have an interview, go through their papers, ask a few questions based on why did they do a certain particular change, and why did they approach that particular problem in the way that they did, because they will see that you're interested. These are small things that will definitely help you. So first thing is try reading everything regularly, and it's never too late to start. You can even do it right now. And we're not saying read one paper every day. That's not going to happen. But go through things based on your own interest. Try to, if something in your coursework is asking you to do, if some professor is asking you to do something outside your curriculum, go and see what's there. You'll not understand most of it, but just see what's going on, because that will definitely add up in the end. That's one thing. Another thing is to plan well, because like those intern programs that Meera was talking about, they have a lot of deadlines for different formalities as well. So go through everything beforehand and try to make sure you're sending out everything way before the deadline, because you don't know what can happen in the end. Or for a lot of people I know, you will have a yes or a no from some professor and you're talking to them, but then eventually something happens and then the thesis or the research internship can get cancelled, and you'll have to think about some other options. You need backups. So don't leave anything to the last minute. Keep talking to professors, even if you've gotten a response from one or two that you're really interested in. Still keep talking to a few others, because anything can go wrong if it has to. So the be within your deadlines, well within your deadlines, and keep all your materials ready, all your requirements for all these programs, and do all of these small things like following your professors, their PhD students, getting in touch with them, sort of networking at a small basis while you're applying. Because even if you talk to the PhD students who are already working there, you learn so much, and you learn so much about what they're interested in, that will help you with your own application. These are very small things, and you will also learn about the recent developments from them itself, because they are working over there. So these are very small things that you should sort of look into. That's going to help you. Meera.
Yeah, so these are very important things. And one thing I wanted to add when Chainika was speaking about the research papers is research papers can be very difficult to read. I have to be very honest here. When I was looking to apply to different professors, my eyes would start glazing over within 2 or 3 paragraphs. I wouldn't even get past the abstract sometimes. It would like really confuse me. I don't even know what they're trying to talk about. All of these things are very normal as an undergrad. The point is to not study the research paper, it's just to read through it to understand where their research is going. Like if some professor like let me give you an example. Like there is a good amount of an overlap between the bioelectronics field and the analog electronics field. So sometimes when you're looking for some professor's work, it might fall correctly on the overlap, but when you're reading the paper, at a glance, it might seem like, yeah, this makes sense. But the more and more you go into depth, you realize that, oh no, this is tending more towards the bioelectronics side and not the analog side. But I want to be here. So you'll just stop halfway. The key is to moderate yourself. Like a good practice is read the abstract and then read the conclusion. And if both of these things really interest you, then go to the body of the letter or the paper that you're reading. So that is one thing that ensures that even you won't be able to commit a lot of time to reading a research paper, right? Like you will have classes and coursework and labs and whatnot. So if you're looking for a quick fix, for lack of better term, this is the way to go. Now, coming back to the good practices, customize your email. Every email that you send has to be very carefully thought through. It has to be perfectly tailored to what that professor wants. Like if they're looking for someone who has a certain skill set, you need to pitch that to them. If you need to tell them why their particular research excites you or which particular paper they wrote led you to them. You have to be really specific, because even if they get a whiff of you being like, fake, or if you're trying to, if you haven't done any research on the professor and you're still trying to put yourself across as someone who knows all about them, they can smell that from a mile away, and that is also going to give you a guaranteed rejection. So customize your email and get to the point. Like don't, if you're introducing yourself, don't tell them, oh, I took PCM in class 10. After class 10, I took something in college. Now I did this. Now I did this. They just want you to give like a flash in the pan idea of yourself. Be crisp. Tell them about only the most relevant things in your profile that might give you an acceptance. Like if you've done a project on something that the professor is currently working on, tell them about that alone. Don't bother like distracting them with any details that may not be very relevant to what you have to say to them. As an extension of that, what other things that you've done, like everything else in your profile that's not very relevant to the professor, can be put on your CV. So you don't need to worry about that. Put your CV on Drive and ensure that your CV is formatted well. Like I think there are quite a few documents on the internet that help you to structure your CV in a way that's nice, crisp, and it makes it very impactful. So you can go through some of those. Like I know Harvard has one. I think during our placements or during the summer internship cycle, placement unit had shared some documents with us. So you can go through those and make your CV stand out, and put some keywords there or something like that. Now, again, talk about how their work excites you and weave that into your story. It's like your email is your elevator pitch. You have to give them your whole story, but you also have to give them the most interesting parts of your story. And there is a very fine line to tread between those two things. And as Chainika said before, follow up regularly. Like if you sent a mail now and if you don't get a response, send it after 1 week and space your follow-ups evenly. There's no point in following up 2-3 days later, because for the record, some professors get up to 100-150 mails a day. There is no way they're going to be remembering someone from India sent them something or someone from BITS Pilani sent them. Like that's inhuman. Let's be very honest. So follow up with them regularly, and be careful about who you're sending what to. That's where your list comes in important. Like if you've sent something to someone, try putting a checklist like put another column in your Excel sheet and say you've sent them this. Count the number of follow-ups. Put a calendar as to when you sent what follow-up. So be a little organized when you're doing that. And I haven't had this experience personally, but sometimes people are also asked to give interviews for lab positions. But I have had the experience of some professors saying, let's catch up, let's discuss and see if this is something we want to do. So when a time comes where someone's inviting you for a talk, be very prepared. Like go through their Google Scholar, go through their research website, see what they're doing, and don't like nonsense your way into that conversation. Be very careful, be very formal. I think we're all grown up enough to realize that we have to be respectful and formal to someone of that stature, but be interested and be truthful. Don't try to say something that you didn't do, or don't try to don't make any false statements. That's basically the crux of it. And be casual, relaxed, and do your homework. That's the biggest takeaway from here. Next slide, please.
One second. So to add on to that, I did have an interview for my thesis that I had in the research internship, and so my thesis basically they first asked me to send my resume, and I made that a little more electronics related than my overall CV that had everything that I've done so far. I tried to add only those projects and those work related to electronics that sort of showed what my interest was. And so they spoke about my projects. He asked me a few more questions about why I did a particular thing in my college projects. And then after that, he also asked me what he's gone through and if he about the work he's done. They themselves ask you sometimes to see what you have done if you've done your homework, and that definitely makes a difference. Like I think the fact that I was prepared for that and I had specific questions to ask about a paper sort of gave me that push. And I think that's when I could tell that my interview was positive. So if you have a call or any interview, be prepared. Don't think it's going to be informal. If it turns out to be informal and just about a few formalities, then it's fine. But be prepared for your interviews, just like it's a normal campus interview or a placement interview. You should know everything and do your homework, like she said. And okay, move on now. Oh, yeah. Sorry, this was me. So for bad practices, a few of these bad practices. One thing, like I've been telling before, also do not wait till the last minute when it comes to sending out emails or confirming your research internship with anyone. Like it's written here for summer or fall or odd semesters. It's like right now, it's good to send out and confirm your internships within January to March. And I know January is coming towards an end, towards the end. So don't be scared, don't be disheartened. You can start right away. I did definitely start a few weeks before today, but what you could do is pick up right now, go through a few, at least start researching if you haven't already, and start sending out emails to the professors that you most definitely want to work under. And I'm not saying that beyond March you won't be able to confirm any thesis or research internship and you won't be able to move forward, but it's definitely better if you have confirmed everything by March, because even after confirming, it does happen that your research internship will get cancelled because of something either from their end, or it mostly won't be from your end, but it might be from their end. And if that happens, you need to still continue talking. So like I said, continue talking to your professors after, if you have sort of a progress with one of these professors. Similarly, for the even semester, you should be well versed with your entire process and be done with it by October. If not, it does happen. I've seen people who changed their entire thesis and their internships and they moved on by May or even June, when our forms and our college formalities had come out. So it works fine, but it's always better to be in your timeline. So that's one thing. And another thing which we've already talked about, please don't spam your professors. It does not come off in a good way. Don't do it. Just send in one email and then send in, if they have not responded to any of your emails, I think remind them at least 3 or 4 times, and that's it. After that, they're not interested. Don't keep spamming any professor. If they are interested in every 2 days, try to put, if you have doubts, if you want to ask many questions, think about everything you want to talk about for a day and then send in your email and put everything that you're concerned about. Also, one more thing, if a professor is mailing you back, don't wait for too long to respond to them. They have too many people also talking to them. So if they do find another student that's interested, your chance is gone. So I think I would try to send the email within 24 hours, which I also thought was too much, but try to send it as and when you get the email, but don't keep spamming them. That's a very bad practice. Please avoid that. Moving on, Meera.
Go back to the previous slide, please. Yeah. So, okay, like Chainika had said, another thing that will guaranteed reject you or guaranteed put a black mark on you and in a worse situation on BITS is cold emailing. And when I say cold emailing, I mean some really dead mail like, "Hi, I'm so and so. Is there space in your lab? I'd like to apply." That is not cool. You're not texting someone. Please don't do something like this. In fact, when you're writing your email, when you're addressing the person, if you're like greetings, Doctor, like so and so, or greetings, Professor so and so, you have to be that specific. Because if they see, in India you say sir, ma'am, and all of those things, but abroad you don't. You have to address them by their last name and their title. So all of these etiquette mistakes can also, so etiquette mistakes aren't as harmful as cold emailing, but it's still important for all of you to know something like this. And it's important for you to space out your emails and not send someone's email to someone else. This is there's a very high chance of something like this happening because of the sheer number of people you're trying to connect with. Like if I'm a professor and say Chainika's a professor, if you're trying to contact me and if you send Chainika's email to me instead, then I will block. Like that's the thing I'm going to do directly, and that's a very, very embarrassing position to be in. And last but not the least, have backups. If there's one thing that the COVID situation has taught all of us, is things can turn really ugly in a very short period of time. So if you're looking for a summer internship kind of situation, talk to the professor and ask them if they will be okay with a remote kind of situation if push comes to shove. It's very important for you to have such an understanding. And I think now that kind of dialogue is much easier because people know that, everyone's seen the world completely crumbling down over the last 2 years almost. so they'll know. And if it's for your thesis, have a conversation with your on-campus advisor also. Ask them saying that, sir, I understand, or ma'am, I understand that I've taken you on as my on-campus advisor, but I would like to have an arrangement wherein if this doesn't work on, I would like to convert it to on-campus, or I'd like to convert it to PS2 or something like that. Just have a backup in case you change your plan or in case something goes wrong. It's very important. Otherwise, you'll be completely like hung out to dry, especially if it's like a longer arrangement, like a thesis or something like that. So yeah, that's that. Next slide, we just want to share a few sources that we used to, look around for stuff. So here's a list of the stuff that we would like to share with all of you. So these are blogs, Facebook pages, and websites. There are a lot of things in addition to all of these. Like I think some organizations have dedicated LinkedIn pages where they put out, their arrangements with other organizations and things like that. Like I didn't, for example, I didn't know GSOC had hardware projects until 2 months ago. Chainika, did you know that? There are like RISC-V processor projects and stuff like that as a part of GSOC. And I didn't know about this, but I saw it on someone's LinkedIn 2-3 months back. And I was like, okay, well, this kind of stuff exists. So the follow button on Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever it is very important because it allows you to get an idea and like expand your, fishnet and try to assimilate as much information as you can. Chainika, would you like to add something?
So I honestly also attended one of these talks about a year ago when I was super clueless and stressed about what I want to do. And that time, one of these talks sort of helped me calm down and give me direction. And I hope we also were able to do that. If you have any questions and any queries, you all can definitely ask us. But one page that was very helpful for me was in fact the BGWIT blog, where I went through everyone's experiences, and they also have a concise list of all these intern programs with their deadlines and what they require. So go through all of this itself, and that's going to give you a lot of information to begin with if you haven't already. And we hope this was helpful for you. So
yeah, and also I think when I was speaking to some of you guys basically like 2019, 2021, and I really feel bad that all of you don't have an on-campus experience that would just break the ice and help you get started. But please don't hesitate to contact your professors or seniors and ask them as to how they went about with things, or ask them for any technical or non-technical doubts in the first place. It can be very daunting to drop your inhibitions and speak to someone who you've never met before. But I think we have come to a situation where we don't have much of a choice. But you need to understand that it's very hard and you guys are doing really well. Don't panic. Don't lose your cool. It's important for you to have patience and understand that all of these processes, getting an internship, doing well in an exam, pandemics, whatever, is so probabilistic. Like, I think despite the raging pandemic and everything, I honestly still think it's a stroke of luck that got me where I am today. But I think the important thing is that you need to be patient. You need to be very, very patient in this whole procedure. And that is what will help you pull through. And have some sort of a buddy system. Like if you and your friends, your classmates or someone have common interests, common technical interests, then form a WhatsApp group, share links and resources. And if not anything else, you'll have their moral support, because you're literally on your own. Your best friend is your laptop at this point. So I think some company, some contact, and some link with your friends might be helpful in helping you figure out what and where you want to go.
yeah, that's about it from our end. And if there are any questions, I don't know how this goes, if someone could take over.
Thank you so much, Chainika and Meera. We'll now open the floor to questions. If anybody has any questions from the audience, you can just put them in the chat and we will try to take them as they come.
I think I speak for myself, but I think is putting trackers on mail track okay. See, first of all, I'm of the opinion that if you are tracking, it has to be discreet, otherwise it's disrespectful. And I don't know if Chainika agrees with me. Do you
It
go ahead there?
definitely
Yeah.
is. I did not put a mail tracker because I thought it does not look good. So I sent out the email and hoped that I would get a response, and I did. So it worked out fine. I did not track emails, but if you have a discrete way of actually seeing if they've seen your email, then sure, go ahead. You can do that.
Yeah, but please, like, I think MailTrack has a premium feature where you can pay a certain amount of money and it makes your tracking discreet. I think MailTrack has that feature, and I think even Streak is not as sophisticated as MailTrack, but that exists too. But use these trackers with a lot of caution because I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but recently Apple came up with a feature where it flags a tracked mail. Like even if you track it, it'll mask that tracking pixel that's in your mail and it'll flag it. It won't reflect on your end if they've tracked it or not. So you might be a little careful on that. Okay. Okay. Can you tell me more about CV? What should we include and what should we not include? Chainika?
So I would say try to make it a little more inclined to your interest. So even for placements, what I saw and what I got as most people's advice was, if suppose you're applying for say non-code, this is a placement example, I'm sorry, but try to make your profile inclined towards that. So if you're applying for electronics or a particular profile, a particular domain under electronics, try to show in your projects or even place them on top so that the professor sees that first, and then you can put in your other projects if you think your CV looks empty. But I would say prioritize putting your field of interest, whatever you've done in that. Like I did not add my POR in these in my CV that I sent out to the professor because it really did not add. And I wanted to first show all of my projects that I had done from my second year onwards. So I would say try to do it in that sense, and I hope that answers your question. Meera, you adding anything?
I kind of agree with what Chainika said. Like when I was mailing professors in particular, I completely restricted my CV to one page. Like the ones which I used for placements and everything had my POR, but the ones which I had for research internships only had one page. And I had like 5 stock CVs. So I had like different research interests, and if I was contacting a particular professor of one kind of field, then I would send their CV tailored to that field. So I had like a couple of CVs and I would just send out them. Okay, is there a deadline for PS to TS conversion? Yes, there is. You can expect your conversion to have be somewhere around end of March. So try to have all your dealings with that off-campus prof or whoever definitely by I think 15th March, right?
Yeah. And mostly like how most deadlines are, it will get extended, but don't again sort of rely on that. But I try to confirm mine in the first week of March, and I felt it was late, but try to do it by March. And you can tell your professor also if you whatever formalities you need to submit your particular form, and that way it sort of gets confirmed. Because if they send you either some offer letter of some sort or a confirmation that you're a part of their team, so that way you can sort of confirm it, and you'll know that you don't want to go for you do want to go for conversion in this case. So that's one in which you're
also to add to Chainika's point, when you're enrolling for your thesis, it will require what she said. It will require an offer letter on a university letterhead. A lot of professors might not have direct access to that, so it will take time. So please, if you're looking to confirm a thesis by a certain amount of time, I think if you're try to get a verbal confirmation from your professor by 1st March. and give 20 days for the formalities. It will require their signature in a couple of places. It will require them to generate an offer letter and all of those things. So give yourself room. You don't want to be running around. Already there's a lot of tension. This is the last thing you should have on your mind. Okay, yeah, Chainika, sorry.
So the next one is about the year that's best. So I would say so if you don't want to do a thesis like a 6-month thing, if you're planning on doing something else, if you want to consider PS, then I would say doing a summer internship before that. So once your third year ends, and I think your fourth year is going to start for single degree students, and the same, just add 1 year for dual. And I would suggest doing it that time.
Dualites have 2 summers, no? Like you can do one between your 3-2 and your 4-2.
So
sorry, 3-2 ke baad and 4-2.
So what I would suggest is, if you don't want to commit 6 months into that, you can do it in the summer. And if you want to continue, although that would be late, but you can talk about working informally over the winters if you really find this interesting. But thesis is also a great option for you if you really want to give your time into research.
See, and to add to this, I've heard of people, especially after the COVID pandemic started, the third year and fourth year students who are doing projects in between the 6 months of the semester with professors from other universities. This is also a very good option because you can juggle both simultaneously. Your grades are very important. You don't let anyone convince you otherwise. If you can, well and good. And this is also an option that exists, but tread with caution over here. Okay, so
and
what's
also
the next
to
question?
add to that, one more thing. Someone had also asked me the similar question before. And if your thing is online, if your entire semester, if you know for sure is online, and you're thinking of doing a research project that along with your courses, then try to do it in your area where you're living, because if you can get to go to those institutes and to those labs, it's definitely going to make a difference. I did not get to go for my research internship, and we were really trying, but because of the pandemic we couldn't. If you can get it in a institute that's around your area, try to get that, because going over there is going to make all the difference. And that only makes sense if it's online. If you are going to college and doing it remote, then it's a whole another story.
Yeah. Okay, what does it mean to publish a paper? Okay, so coming back to Shaurya's question, Shaurya, if you're a single degree student, then the summer after your third year would be ideal if you're considering doing a PS1, that is. And for dual degree students, the summer after your third year and the summer after your fourth year. Fourth year is again subject to PS2. So please be a little careful about the dates. Do your research on that. Okay, what does it mean to publish a paper? So a paper basically is a scientific research article that has been accepted, reviewed, and sanctioned by an organization. Like there are different organizations in different fields of research. Since I am an electronics student, I can only speak from the electronics perspective. There's an organization called IEEE. There's ACM. There are so many organizations that has a scientific committee sitting that surveys research that you submit to them, goes through it, and once it goes through a series of approvals, it is published on their magazine or on their letters or on their journal or whatever forum they have for themselves. So very simply put, this is the process. But what it means, if you're looking at it, like if I'm a person who's you're coming and telling me that I've published a paper, it is a reflection of your scientific temper. It means that you have the capability of thinking critically and individually, and you can convert that thought to action. Chainika, would you like to add something?
That was explained very well. I hope that answered your question. Otherwise, you can ask us more. I'm moving to the next one. What level of comfort with the subject material should we ideally have? So I would say definitely everyone knows your undergraduates. You do not know everything about your particular subject of interest. So I would say even so I knew I wanted to do it in communications when I was mailing the professor. And I explain to the professor what all I have studied and how I'm interested. So that much to for your first email, I think makes sense. And you need to actually go through what your professor has done and talk about what part interested you and what you want to learn about. It does not mean that you need to understand that entire paper that they've written. They don't expect you to know that. And all you need to do is sort of tell them that these particular terms or these particular subjects sort of helped you. I personally, if I liked a particular course, I would tell them that I studied this and this was really interesting and this aligns with your project and I want to talk further on this. So just that much, knowing that you've studied a particular course sort of gives them an idea that you might know few things that can help them with their project. I hope that answers your question, and Meera, you can add.
Yeah, I think Chainika really hit the nail on the head when she said, try tying it with something you already did in your college coursework. See, I've felt that when I'm reading research papers and when I'm trying to connect with a professor, I I get completely swept away in the paper itself, and I keep stalling my decision to actually sit down and write the paper. Write the email to that professor. The thing is, I think the best way to come out of that inertia is to pursue parallel threads. Like have a basic idea of the email that you're going to write it, and pen it down, and try taking bits and pieces of that research paper and weave it into your email. Like for example, if let me just give you a very rudimentary example. Now, suppose there's a professor who's working on some kind of an implant, and that implant has a really good feature, like it works on like very little power, or it has a super high radiation capacity or something like that. And this is something that will typically be highlighted in some part of the paper. Like they'll say, like even when they're writing the paper, they'll say something, ours is the first work that has managed to transmit data under like 5 microwatts, or some really specific factual thing like that. So if you can, when you're skimming through the paper, if you can pick out a particular fact like this and you weave it, they know that you've paid attention to the paper, but you haven't really paid attention, if you know what I mean. You're not engaging deeply, you're just cherry picking some facts. And that may also work depending on how you play it, but that is certainly a way to somewhat bypass some of that intense reading. Chainika, do you want to add something?
No, I think you sort of you answered it well. We'll go on to the next one.
Yeah. Archish's question: how can you do a research internship in a topic which you haven't formally taken as a course, or in a topic that you have taken as a course but isn't a core subject in your degree? Can you give me a specific example? Because honestly, I can't think of.
Suppose you're doing electronics and you want to do yes, that's perfectly fine. That's so you need to show that you have sort of put in your hours apart from your coursework to add onto your CV, and you need to show what you need to have to be done some work in that particular field. You can't have zero. Anything related to either coursework or any project informally on your own that you've done in your CV. If you have none of this and you want to go for CS, it's as an example, it will be harder. I would say if you even show in your resume in some way that you've done any course or any informal project by yourself, it will show, it will make a difference. And I have seen a lot of people who've done it, so you can definitely achieve that. Meera, if you want to add.
Yeah, you got it. You've hit the nail on the head. Okay, Kshitij Gaur is asking, are there research internships available for third-year students? So, Kshitij, I think if you're looking at it, if you're looking at intern programs specifically, then program-based requirements are very important. Like, I think MyTax has a requirement that you should have only 18 months or 12 months left to graduate, which means that if you're a single degree student, then after your third year is the only time you can apply. And if you're a dual degree student, then after your fourth year, the summer after your fourth year is the only time you can apply. So intern programs have specific requirements, and for that you will have to go to the program website and go see all of those. But if you're emailing someone, then I don't think there is a year requirement. Like I know people as young as like in their first year who've tried to get research internships and things like that. So it really depends on your ability, your how ready you feel you are. That's the most important thing. Chainika?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. If you want to ask more on that, you can actually contact us. You all can contact us on LinkedIn if you all have any questions, and
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
feel free to answer. I'm moving on to the next one. So on this one, this question, I also had to ask for LORs for my intern program applications. And what I did, it definitely makes sense because you do not want to pester your professor into sending out specific LORs. So I asked my professor to send me a general one, which was more aligned towards how I was as a student, more than about the university itself. So it was more personal, and I sort of got it. I just got one LOR and I sent that to all the programs because I did not want to sort of disturb my professor that much, because you'll be sending it out to a lot of programs and professors outside. So I would suggest keeping it a general one, or that's how I did it. If you're informal with your professor and he knows you and you think that he can help you out, you can actually just ask them, take their advice. You should be this free with your professors, because these professors are genuinely helping you, as they did for us in our research internship applications. I asked my professor, but I preferred doing a general LOR, and that's why I sent it to him. And he gave me one, which I sent back to whatever programs I was applying for, and it worked out fine. So talk to your professor if you want, and if you do not want them to sort of have a problem, then I'd say go for a general one, which is more specific to your needs and how you are as a student, because that's what they want to know at the end of the day.
I haven't had a situation where I've applied for an LOR, but I think you can compensate for the LOR strength by shifting the weight onto how that professor endorses your credentials, as opposed to saying something really specific to the program. If it comes to a situation when you have only one LOR, like I think if you Google some resources as to how you can write a strong LOR, I think if your professor is giving you the freedom to submit him a draft or submit her a draft, then you can probably take some pointers and increase the push it gives to you, as opposed to giving something specific to the program. So I feel like that could be a way by which you can bypass something like this. Okay, now Shamita is asking, could you give us a sample mail for reference? I am really sorry, I'm not comfortable sharing personal communication, Chainika.
I understand. I mean, yeah, I totally get it. I would say if you really want help, you can sort of ask us personally and we'll help you draft the email if you want. Because once
Yeah,
you read someone's email, you know your email is going to be aligned by
exactly.
whatever you read. So I would say try to build it, but you can definitely ask us anywhere, wherever you're stuck. There's no issues with
Yeah.
that.
See, another thing I completely we forgot to address is that the mail writing process itself is so iterative. Like if I look at the first ever mail that I sent out and the mail that actually got me where I wanted, the first mail is complete junk. Like it's really poorly written. It doesn't put like highlight my credentials. It doesn't convey what I want to the professor. So take some time and write the email yourself. Try to, we've given you some pointers, some ways by which you can some structuring, some very basic structuring that you could follow. So once you fill those structuring boxes, you can go through it again, or you can get it reviewed by your friends and family, just to make it more cohesive and make it more realistic. So I think put some time and effort, and definitely contact someone you're comfortable with to do the proofreading part, because the moment you get a sample from someone, I know I would definitely go away with that, but I think you would want to fill those boxes first and then go ahead and do that. Cool. So what would be the right time to email professors if you're planning to do a thesis in the second semester? August to November, isn't that what
November would
it
be a
was?
little late. So I would say
Uh-huh.
August is when you should start emailing.
Huh.
I'd say over the summer, start doing your research. I mean, start reading about your a few papers and conference, whatever you see in the news about your field of interest. Start doing that before itself and start deciding what you want to do. Make your list beforehand. And I'd say August is a good time to start sending your emails. So be ready with everything before that. So, for
Yeah.
example, for this semester, what I did, I mean, for my first semester, odd semester, I started sending emails from 4th January, which was after the New Year's break for most colleges. And before that, I was ready with everything. So that
Yeah.
I think that timeline is decent.
Yeah, I think if you're applying for the odd semester, then the winter break is the perfect time for you to bin your list, carefully go through those papers. You can actually invest time into that, into your research without having like the pressure of academics or something like that. So it's pretty important. What email should you use for emailing? What did you use, Janika?
So I used my personal email because I had heard that if you send it from your student email, some places it directly goes to spam if it's from a student ID, is what I'd heard. And what I preferred was sending my personal email, which was a formal one, not some kiddish email made, and that worked out fine. I've got all responses. I've also heard some people who send it from their student email and their college email, and that works out decently well as well. I've asked seniors and they said either way you go, it's about the body
Yeah,
and it's about the time you send it. That definitely makes sense. Do not send it on holidays, you're not going to get a response. And do not send it on Saturdays and Sundays. Send it in the
yeah.
morning. That's when most people read emails. And yeah, I think that's how I went about it.
I used only my BITS email. I did send a few from my personal email, but I didn't get responses to that. And all the responses I got were for my BITS email only. So I don't know if it's coincidence or if it's just or if it actually like flagged my personal email or something. I use my BITS email ID. So you can. I think I've known people who've done both and gotten it, so that's completely
I mean,
fine.
this itself
And
is a good example because she did it from her
yeah,
college one and I did it from my personal, and we
yeah,
both
exactly.
ended up with internships. So yeah, it just
Yeah,
makes.
and to add to Chainika's point, I think timing is also really, really understated. Like it's so important for you to time your emails right. I avoid. I What I did was I didn't send any mails on weekends, Mondays, and Fridays. So the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday window, and at around 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. is when I would 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. for the professor's local time is when I would time my emails because if someone typically logs into work at 9, they'll see some 50 mails from the previous day, and if yours is one of them, you're not going to get a read. So you have to sort of do some, you have to mess around with that and figure out how it's going. So yeah. Next question is it safe to have a photo in our CV, as different countries have different rules regarding this? I honestly haven't heard of countries having rules for their CV or someone actually getting, flagged, like someone getting flagged negatively for this. The reason why so I've done both. I have put my photo on my CV and I haven't also. The reason why I did put it when I was applying initially was because I didn't have space on my CV. As in, I had too much free space on my CV, so I wanted a big header. So I just wanted it to fill it out, which is a very stupid thing to do, I know. But if you're the main thing that you have to keep in mind is the 1 page limit. Is your photograph taking too much space, or are you not able to fit everything else? Then you can, like, if that's probably the least important thing to have on your CV, because you can still put your photo on Gmail, right? So you can do something like that. That's not a trouble. But if you want to, you can. I think it's really what you feel comfortable with. Chanika?
So I don't know if you guys have the we use Superset. College gives us Superset to build our profiles, and for so if you have given summer internship interviews, then you would have seen the template that they use. And I basically used that template and I sent in whatever was made from my superset profile. I kept changing the data that I was writing to make it more aligned to electronics or whatever I wanted the professor to see. So it did have a very small photograph on the top left corner, if I remember correctly, and I let it be. More than your own photograph, I think it's even your college logo that's on there, at least in the superset profile building thing. So I did not know, I did not think about this until this question, but like she said, if you have space, then you can. And it doesn't really have to be that big, because I think if it is a very big photo, they'll know that you're trying to fill up space. So
Yeah, fair enough.
you can, but there's no rule against it.
Yeah. Okay, what was the timeline of each of your internships? So, Chainika?
So mine started, so I had my internship. I finalized it in March, and I was told to do some background work and background prep over the summer to be prepared and start from 1st August. I had a summer internship from 25th May to 25th or 28th July. So I was packed that time. And over the weekend, if I had time, I would sit and prepare for my research internship. And from 1st August, so I had 3 days break from 28th July to 31st. And then from 1st August, I started my research internship, which went on. So formally, it was ended on 5th December because that's when we had to submit our grades for our college. But I personally kept working till my PS2 started because I did not have much to do. And it also sort of, I wanted to help the professor with the work and keep it moving and actually send it forward to the next intern who was going to be working. So I continued working up until I think 2 weeks ago. So yeah.
Okay, so my summer internship actually started in early May 21. So early May to I think mid July was the summer internship, and then I wanted to give a 15-day break, and I started my research intern. Okay, the summer one was with IIIT Hyderabad, and the one with USC started on 1st August, and it went on till almost 15th or 16th December. So that was for 6 months. That I hope that answers your question. All right. Raghuveer is asking, does being the first author on a paper make a difference? Okay, so I think from a student's point of view, being an author on a paper itself is amazing. So I think, and that's the baseline. But having said that, it really depends on the paper itself and the other authors in the paper. Like if you're a first, so some fields are inherently very difficult to publish in. Like, again, I'm really sorry, all of my examples are very catered to electronics, but like VLSI is very, very difficult to publish in, like solid state circuits, ISCAS, all of those journals. It's very difficult to publish. You need first to conduct some sort of scientific experiments, you need a lot of advanced tools. Then you need a lot of very incisive analysis into what you're doing. So being able to publish in one of these journals itself is very difficult as an undergraduate. So if you're not a first author in one of these publications, you can still like cut yourself some slack. So that is journal specific or discipline specific. And the second thing is it depends on how many other authors are there in the paper. Like if there are 6 authors and you're the first author, it matters. But if there are 6 authors and you're the third author, it might not be as impactful as you having a fully first authored application. But if there are like 2 authors and you're the first author, that's fine. Like it's everything is relative. It's you just have to weigh it against how difficult the field is inherently to publish in. Like if you know that being able to publish in your field is difficult and you've still managed to do it, then pat on your shoulder, you've done something really good. And you also need to see how you weigh with the general number of authors in that thing. So I think at this point, if you haven't published at all, then having a publication is really like something. It's something really nice to have, of course. But once you begin to publish more and more, you can start worrying about the semantics. Chainika, I can't hear you. Your mic is off.
Sorry. I was saying you summed it really well. So if this is your first publication, then that itself is a very big thing, and it's a talking point in most of your interviews here onwards. And also, it's just very good to show that you have a publication in your name. Afterwards, it definitely makes a difference, and it most definitely depends on the co-authors. So yeah.
Okay. Okay? Thanks. Okay. Okay. Shamita says thanks. Ashlita says thanks. Anirudh is asking, can we mail different professors in the same department? Will it not become awkward? Oops. So Anirudh, I have done this, and the trick is try to. So I sent out my emails in batches, like like if I have 4 weeks' time and if I have 20 people to email, then each I send out like five emails every week. And if there are two professors from the same university and the same department, then they would fall into different batches. So that kind of at least probabilistically reduces your chance of them, saying, oh, I also got a mail, I also got a mail, and talking about it. See, inherently the chance is very less because if all of these professors get such a large volume of email. But if you're a very paranoid person like what I am, I think if you distribute that across like over the duration that you will be communicating with them, then that might soothe some of the awkwardness. So will it become awkward? It might not. Should you do that? It's fine. You can, like, that's not a problem. Okay, Ashlesha is asking, if your publication isn't in the field you want to pursue your thesis, does that paper help you in your application? Ashlesha, if I have to be very honest, I personally think it does, because if you look at it from a bird's eye glance, it still speaks about your ability to be a good researcher, because someone has sort of validated the work that you do. So I think something that it's not something that you can blindside or brush away. A publication, so if again I'm going to speak about electronics itself. If say my field of interest is in analog design, and if I somehow manage to publish in communications, while that might not push my analog credentials as far as a publication in analog itself would do, this one is still going to be a very good indication of my potential as a researcher. And if I was on the receiving end of your application, I would definitely say that it's a positive thing and I should at least consider it. Chainika?
Honestly, look at it this way. See, you're applying for a thesis, which basically is research, and you need to show that you have done this and you have achieved something in the same domain and you wish to pursue it. I'm not saying in terms of subject, but in terms of the work, you've done it. So I'd say put it on your CV, put it on your resume, because it will look like you have actually done something, and that is a pat on your back. I hope that answers.
I think I'd definitely like to add to Chainika's point and say that if you have a publication at a good journal, please don't hesitate to put that on your social media, on your resume, or wherever. A publication is a very, very I don't know, I feel like it's a very substantial measure of your intellect and your potential, because you're actually putting work into that research, and because it's a pesky process to write. It goes through so many iterations, it goes through so many refinements, edits, so many times. Someone will review it, your professor will review it, you will review it. So many people will sit and work on it, and you will be the one who's going to be editing all of this. So definitely don't worry about, definitely don't keep it to yourself. Like, advertise it, use it to push your credentials further. Okay, Shamita is asking, I'm in my 2-2 currently. I'm a dual degree student. How and what exactly should I be doing that will facilitate my application for an internship, which, as you said, would probably be in the summer of my 3rd year? Chainika, do you want to take this?
So I'd say right now, if you're in your 2-2, you have another year after which you will be going for your thesis or your research internship. So right now, I'd say stick to your college courses and your projects. Try to contact all these professors and try to see what you're exactly interested in. And two, I'm telling you, if you do not know what you're interested in, it's totally fine. By the end of, I think I was in the middle of my third year, or I was in 3-2 when I knew that okay, electronics is something I'm interested in, and that's when I also actually met Meera. Like she said, make your groups, and that's when we both met and we started talking about our interests. So right now, if you do not know what you're interested in, it's totally fine. Just try to take up projects, try to take up different courses that you think interest you, and then if eventually they don't, it's fine. It's better for you to know you're not interested in something than being absolutely clueless. So I would say take your time in sort of getting a few projects under some professors and even talking to them, because I'm sure if you're in your 2-2, you haven't had a lot of campus time. And I would, if you do get to go, try to talk to all of these professors about your doubts, about your queries, and that's going to sort of have give you a clear mind when it comes to deciding what you want to work in. I hope that answers. And Meera, you can add.
Yeah, I agree. So, Shavita, what's your science degree? What are your degree combinations? Because so my okay for the record, my degree combination is maths and ECE, and I was fairly sure from around my 1-2, okay, maths plus mech. Okay, so I was fairly sure from about my 1-2 itself that electronics is my calling, and I'd like to make my career here. So what I did during my 2-1 and 2-2 was, first, do very well in your courses, maximize your CGPA. If not anything else, your CGPA is a gateway to a lot of important things in your life. So that's very important. Second is, if you know that both your streams sort of interest you to an equal measure, try looking for projects that are interdisciplinary in nature. Like, so one thing that I had, okay, mine's not fully interdisciplinary, but I had taken up projects on optimal control in my 2-2 and 2-1. So optimal control is basically, for all of you electronic students, you know, control systems is a thing that you study in your 2-2, right? Optimal control is a kind of a step in that direction, which I had taken up in my 2-1 and in my 2-1 and 2 as a math student. So that kind of helped me gravitate my interest towards this. Like it gave me an opportunity to be, acquainted with some of the things that could possibly enhance my credentials. So that is also something you'd like to look for. So looking at your specific case, if your interest is in something like robotics, then you might want to consult with some seniors who've had the same combination as you, or some seniors who are in mech and who are specializing in robotics, and look at the different fields that you can consider as a math project and try working on them in your 2-1 and 2-2. So that is another way by which you can go about with it. So yeah, that's that. Does anyone have any other questions? Oh, we missed Shaurya's question. Do we need to inform the college in case we get selected for an internship program? Does it have to be in sync with the college semester? Summer internship? No, I don't think so. Thesis, yes, because you need a letter grade. Chainika?
Yeah. So if your entire, I'm audible, right?
Yeah.
That's my internet. Okay. So if your internship program duration is 6 months, it's going to be taken as a thesis, and you will have to inform your college accordingly. I'm sure my tax does that, and I know people who've done that, and that's counted as your thesis. So you will have to inform the college, and there are those specific forms for those. You'll go through that. But if it is an internship and if you're doing it informally, like we said, where students take up a few internships or projects in some institutes along with their courses, that I don't think is required. I mean, they don't require an information on that. That's an informal thing, and you need to balance both accordingly. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Are papers published in conferences also substantial? Yes. Yes, they are.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will wrap up the session now. If anybody has any more questions, there's a feedback form, and we have given a field. If you want to contact the speakers, we'll make sure the questions reach them. So thank you, Chainika and Meera, for your insights and for this lovely session. I'm sure everyone who attended gained a lot from the past hour and a half. To everyone who attended, thank you so much for tuning in. Please fill up the feedback form and follow all of our socials. We have a lot of sessions like these that we keep organizing. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. And to all of you juniors, don't worry, you'll do well. Just study properly and think about what you want to do eventually.
Yeah, and y'all can contact us if you'll have any problems.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.